Fantasy Live with your host, Lonnie Z.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the show. We have a big show packed for you today. It is Monday night. We just got done watching the Cowboys beat the Giants. And so week 3 is in the books. There are some crazy games this weekend. There are some big games. There's some players that we expected to have huge weekends and just didn't. And there's also some players that are surprising us. Vegas had these high scoring games. You have the Vikings and Lions game, which we thought we'd have a little more scoring in that game. I guess, it wasn't that bad. The scoring wasn't that bad in that game, but we thought we would have a little more scoring. And also the Chiefs game, we expected a little bit more out of the Chiefs game, and they end up losing, and it wasn't a high scoring game either. So we're going to go over all that stuff. But before we get into any of that, at the end of every Monday, we start talking about what happened in the weekend. Where are these guys that, we need to pick up for the waiver wire that are going to help our team? So we're going to start right there with some waiver wire pickups. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a few guys that I think that you got to go out and you got to get. Probably one of the guys that is flying under the radar the absolute most. I mean, this guy, I'm not sure if too many people know about him. I think he's owned in like 18% of Yahoo leagues and even less percent in NFL.com fantasy. Greg Dortch is really, really doing something there in Arizona. So this kid, he's not a kid. This is his 4th year in the league. So it's not like he's a rookie. This year in PPR leagues, he has 45.8 fantasy points. 45 fantasy points in 3 games. So in his first game against Kansas City, he had 7 receptions on 9 targets for 63 yards. He scored 13.3 fantasy points. Then the next week, he followed that up against Vegas. He had 4 receptions on 4 targets, 55 yards, a touchdown, and he had 15.5 points. And then, Sunday, he played against the Rams. That was his best game yet. He had 10 targets, 9 receptions, 80 yards, 17 fantasy points. And this guy is not rostered in leagues all over, ESPN, NFL, Yahoo. In Yahoo, he's at 18%. That's just crazy. That's crazy. The amount that he is just free. He's available out there. I think Greg Dortch is a guy that you have to go get. You got to look at him, and you got to go get him, because he's not going to be there. He's not going to be a under the radar too much longer. And I think if you don't get him this weekend, you're probably not going to get him at all. And it just may be too late, because what's going on is Kyler Murray is really, really building chemistry with this guy and starting to trust this guy. He is owned in 6.4% of NFL.com fantasy leagues. Now, that's crazy. Only 6% of NFL.com. And I have him in my ESPN league. And let me see. I'll tell you what his percentage is. His ownership percentage is in that league. He's rostered in 7.3% of ESPN leagues. So Greg Dortch, this guy, when he coming into week 3, his position rank was 22. He was wide receiver 22. And I'm sure after tomorrow, that's going to go up. So he's going to be a higher ranked wide receiver, and people are going to start noticing him. I just did a video on him that I released this morning for some waiver wire targets, and he's my main guy. Greg Dortch, check him out. I mean, his target share, let's see if we can get some numbers on him real quick. He's got 16.7 target share behind Marquise Brown in Arizona. And that's pretty good. Now, I know that Rondale Moore is hurt. And so because Rondale Moore is hurt, this is affording an opportunity for Dortch. And he's taken advantage of it. He really has. And another one, that I want to just kind of mention, and I'm not going to really get into his stats. I don't have his stats in front of me, but after watching the game tonight, and I was already thinking about him, he was a fringe guy that I was thinking you need to probably roster if you're in need of a wide receiver that can at least get you 10 points or right around there, some sort of a flex or a wide receiver 3 or 4. Richie James of the New York Giants, he's getting a lot of play, a lot of volume, right there in the 10 to 15 point range. And sometimes that's all you need. You need consistency in your rosters, and you need these guys, especially early on in the season. You never know. Sterling Shepard went down again today, so that was bad to see. They had to cart him off, and he's gone through so much, and now he's in trouble. He hurt his leg, non-football contact injury. So usually those aren't good. So, Richie James too is another one. It seems that the Chicago Bears really have a baller on their hands. Khalil Herbert, this guy's a baller. Last season, I remember when Montgomery went down, Khalil stepped in. I picked him up quickly, and he was like an RB1. Every week that he played, he was, for my team, an RB1 playing and balling out. And so Khalil Herbert is another player that you have to go get. If you don't have Khalil Herbert, you need to figure it out. You need to pick him up. If he's in your league, if he's available in your league, you got to go get him because he has the skills of a RB1. Personally, I think that he's better than David Montgomery. That's how I feel. I just by the sample size that I saw last year and what I see once Montgomery went down, Khalil Herbert had 20 attempts, 157 yards. He averaged 7.8 yards per carry. That's incredible. That is incredible. He had 30.9 fantasy points. Now, he broke off a 56-yarder. I mean, this guy is a tank, and he's quick. He runs over you, through you, around you. You got to go get Khalil Herbert. He's a must add. If he's in your league and he's available, you got to go get him. I don't care. You just got to pick this guy up. I would imagine if you don't have the first waiver wire pick, you're not going to get him. But if you do, go get him. Still put in a claim because someone might be slipping. You never know with waivers. I've put in waivers before and I'm thinking I'm never going to get this guy because, everyone knows about him. These guys are going to be on him. But hey, sometimes you get those guys and they just miss them. So Khalil Herbert, that's the next guy you want to check out. You want to go get him if you can. That's really important because David Montgomery's out. They're not sure to the extent of his injury, but he may be out for quite some time. And if that's the case, you definitely want to have him because you know what their coach said, we're going to run the ball down their throat. So he wants to run the ball. So go get Khalil Herbert. I'm telling you, if you do, you have a top 10 running back instantly on your team. And then the next one is Dalvin Cook. He hurt his shoulder and, he goes through this. He misses a few games every year. And the number one handcuff in fantasy is Alexander Mattison. And so go get Alexander Mattison. He might be harder to get because Alexander Mattison is probably rostered in most leagues. I know that I drafted Mattison in just about every one of my leagues. So let me see what here he's rostered in 37% of Yahoo's leagues. And let's see what he is in NFL. So for NFL fantasy, Madison is rostered 38%. So he's under 50. So he's out there enough in leagues, but it's not going to be long. He won't be there long. So between him and Khalil Herbert, one of these guys are going to go first. Dortch, I don't think people are on Dortch. I really don't. I think that he's so under the radar that people aren't paying attention. Dortch reminds me of Hunter Renfrow last year. I wrote an article last year in week 3, and I said, go get Hunter Renfrow now He's going to really be one of those filler wide receiver threes that's going to be consistent for you all year, and he's going to really help you out. And that's exactly what Hunter Renfrow did last year. That's who Greg Dortch is. I don't think, even when Rondale Moore comes back, I don't think Greg Dortch is losing his time. Now, he'll lose some targets for sure, but I think that they're going to find a way for him to play all the time. AJ Green might be the guy out. Rondale comes back, AJ Green, he can be out. And we don't know what's going to happen with Rondale Moore. He's really been laboring on this hamstring. He's been injured. He can't get back from this thing. So who knows? But Alexander Madison, Khalil Herbert, Greg Dortch, those are the three top waiver wire targets for this week. If you're looking for a quarterback, good luck. There's not many quarterbacks out there, but if you haven't got Marcus Mariota yet and you need a quarterback, I don't know why you would have Mac Jones. I mean, Mac Jones got hurt, but I don't think anyone's really trotting him out there every week as a starter. But if for some reason, or maybe you drafted Justin Fields and that was your guy and you thought that, well, he's going to have a good year. Well, you might want to stick him on your bench and go get Marcus Mariota. Mariota, he had 20 fantasy points this week, but he's not the greatest, but he's a good Band-Aid. He's a good Band-Aid, and I think he's going to get better each week, and he gives you some running element, and he's throwing the ball a little better. Kyle Pitts seemed to have a little better game this week, so if you need a quarterback, look at Marcus Mariota. And for those of you that went out and got Carson Wentz to replace Dak Prescott or whatever, don't blame me, okay? I know I did a video and said he was a waiver wire target after week 2, and he really was and is. He just had a bad game. He'll be back. He'll be fine, but he did have a pretty bad game yesterday. All right, so those are your waiver wire targets. Go out, get these guys. They're going to help your league. Trust me, they're going to help your league. It's really, really important that you pick these guys up.